How do I address the feeling of being smothered in a relationship and it causes me to withdraw? Well, that is a twofold process, right? I talk a lot more about this actually in my course on Avoidant Attachment 101. And if you're interested in learning more about that, there is a video on my channel called Anxious Avoidant Attachment 101. And talks about strengths of avoidant attachment. And I invite you to check that out because I go into that a lot in a lot more detail. But it's twofold. It is being in process with yourself, because sometimes when we have avoidant attachment, we tend to be hypersensitive to even benign requests. And so we experience that feeling of being overtaken, even when that is not the intention of your partner, and even if what the partner is expressing is a perfectly reasonable desire and or request, because we have come from enmeshed backgrounds where, and I connect with this, which is why Esther Perel's use of the word accountable really irritates me. Because, when we come from enmeshed family backgrounds, people love the word accountable. They love it. And because they want you to be accountable to them. And they don't mind being accountable to you, because that is a state of what I perceive to be enmeshment or merger that they know how to exist in. It's not that I don't agree with accountability as a concept, but I think the accountability that we have to have is to ourselves. And that in the end, that is the only thing that you are ultimately accountable to. It's not that we don't influence other people. I also did a live stream about that 2 weeks ago, about the power of emotional influence. There are degrees of emotional influence that we have on each other, of course, but sometimes they get so overblown. And when it has been overblown, then we could become hypersensitive to things like requests for contact with a partner. And we don't know how to gauge, is this a request that is attempting a form of control over me? Or is this just a request that is expressing a desire for connection? I will say that almost always when someone is attempting to control you, it is actually a request for connection. It's just hard for us to see that because we feel so triggered by the surface structure communication, which is the need to control. Right? But any need like that is fueled by a fear, and any fear is behind every fear is a deeper desire, right? So the deeper desire is usually the part of the way that we relate to each other that's much more empathetic and sympathetic, right? So when I say it's twofold, it is that being aware of what your hypersensitivities may be to even benign requests, and being aware that, oh, I'm feeling really triggered now, even though that's a benign request. And I'm just going to remind myself that that's a benign request, and realize that reaction is my own stuff and not necessarily related to what's happening in the present moment with this person. And if you're not sure, then you just check. And also feel like you can express your needs all along the way. The other thing is that a lot of partners that struggle with avoidant attachment, they're actually terrible people pleasers. Terrible. They're the worst people pleasers. They're worse than anxious open hearts, because they struggle so much with their boundaries that they give and give and give and give and give, and they don't know how. I'm going to hurt them if I say I want space. If I tell them I'm feeling smothered, they're going to take it personally and disappear forever. So they just keep repressing. Yeah, it's great. They yes you to death, and then they hit that wall and they just can't do it anymore. And if they did continue doing it, it would mean an annihilation of self. So they, in many cases, ghost. Or they will tell you, I can't do this anymore. You'd be better off without me. Or they think that if they now voice what they do and don't need, that their partner will be floored. And they don't want to see the look of disappointment on their face. And then they slip into that destiny thinking that we're talking about, right? That rigid thinking that this just means it's never going to work. And so they end it. Right. So part of it is being aware of and responsible for what your reactions are all along the way. And as I said before, I think if we are ambivalent, that's okay. No one's saying you're not allowed to be ambivalent, but just be honest about it. And if you know that you are ambivalent and you're able to be honest about it, allowing the other person who may not be ambivalent to go on their way if they need to. Right. But then we have this reaction like, no, but I don't really want you to go all the way out. I just want you to come a little bit in. Right. And so that's where we kind of get into that playground of contrast and how we butt up against each other's needs, desires, and what it is that we really want. And then that's where the open heart or the anxious partner who may be in partnership with someone like that learns to establish their boundaries and say yes or no when they need to, and to excuse themselves from ambivalent behavior if they need to. On the other hand, there may be partners who are willing to engage in that playground and explore ambivalent behavior because their partner is, in fact, a mirror reflection of their own inner ambivalence. Because when we chase people that are emotionally unavailable, and they're emotionally unavailable, what aspects of you are not available to you? So in chasing something outside of yourself, imagine all the thoughts and analysis and overthinking and cyclical obsessiveness energy that goes into that. And imagine what a massive distraction that is from having to sink into what may be unacknowledged inside, left unacknowledged inside. And so all of that anxious preoccupation becomes a beautiful, huge, massive, intricate, complex, painful, exciting smokescreen for whatever is existing beyond it. And usually that is a sense that I don't really want to be seen, because if I am really seen, if I am truly seen by someone, then I am truly at risk of being rejected again, right? And that's really scary. So really what we're struggling with is receiving. What everyone is struggling with is receiving, right? So I know I went a little off the rails there, but I hope that was helpful. And